trying to figure out some comparisons between this old 1980s 20 by 50, which is great because it weighs 19 ounces. That's a Leupold gold ring. So 20 power, and then when I put this doubler on, it's 40 power. As compared to this 11 by 33 Razor, which is a new, as compared to this 20 by 60 Ball scope it's called. It's 15 to 60 actually by 60. And I can also put the doubler on this Razor. And then compared to something that's fairly elite, which is this Televid 65, which is a 25 by 50. I can tell you one thing for sure. This thing is way, way brighter. This thing is incredibly bright. Just look at that. That's 65 millimeters. And I'm looking at across the street. I put at 37 yards a little optics target. So let's see how these worked out. So this is the target I've got at 37 yards. I'll try to hold this steady. So the 20 power Leupold, I could really only make out to somewhere between 2.2 and 2.5. I could almost make out that 2.5. When I put the doubler on it, I could go all the way to 3.2 when I had it at 40x. So that's the 20x Leupold. Okay, let's try something a little different here so I don't bounce around so much. When I went to that Vortex Razor at 22 power, it jumped all the way up to 3.2. Extraordinary focus wheel, and at 33x all the way to 4.0, so much better than the Leupold 20 by 50, even when doubled. Now you can also double that Vortex, and when I doubled that Vortex I could get all the way up to 5.6. It got very, very dim, and that really was at the same place as the Bosch and Lohm, which really, it was made in the 70s, and compared to this modern stuff is really dim and has not good edge-to-edge clarity, but is still pretty sharp when you get it right to where you need it to be. Now, a bit of a surprise for me is the Leica at 50 power only went one more step higher than either the Bosch and Lohm or the Vortex with the doubler. But it was much brighter, much wider field of view, much easier to see. And if you notice those very, very dim figures on the right, with those dim figures, when you looked at them, you could go up 2 steps on the Leica because of that extra brightness. So when I played with that, then the Leica kind of jumped ahead. But it's still, I was really surprised how good the Vortex was. So I'm going to sell that Leica. I'm going to sell a bunch of stuff. I'm going to sell a bunch of binoculars. I'm selling my Leica for 2 reasons. One, it's a straight scope. And the more I use a scope that's angled, the more I like the angled scope. So 2, it's under magnified. That 25 to 50, it's a beautiful immersive experience. But really, I think Dall sheep hunting a little different. I don't often find game with that beautiful, wide, immersive. I'm usually not spotting game with the spotter like some people do. If you're doing Kuas deer or even mule deer, those white sheep, you find them with your binoculars, and you find them pretty quick, or you find them with your open eye. It's not hard to find your sheep. What's hard to find is what's hard to do is evaluate it. And at 50x, I don't find the quality of that instrument could get you past 50. And one of the things I noticed is when they used to sell the angled Leicas, they have an extender. I think it's a 1.7 or 1.6 power extender, which gets you all the way up to 90 power. And so I'm going to sell that Leica, and it's also really a heavy unit. So I'm looking at maybe rebuying a better spotting scope, like a Leica 82 or a Kowa with an extender. I want to get up right to 90x, because I think limiting yourself to 50x with such a fine instrument doesn't really give you much more resolving power than something that gets you to just as high or higher magnification that's not as high quality. Magnification really makes a difference. The other thing is, I have to say, this is a really good unit. It's not the Kowa 553. It's not in the same class as the Leica, but what it has is this fantastically sensitive focus. And I'm surprised how much that helps getting the most out of this instrument. This is much finer than even that Leica focus, and it's very, very easy to use, so you're not vibrating the scope. Really nice little unit. I'm going to get by with this unit while I sell my Leica and try to find something else. If I'm going to carry the weight, I might as well carry something that gets me way past 50x. That's my thinking. You might disagree, but honest to God, just if you could get a angled scope that also has a rotating collar that you can then look from all sorts of things, it's much easier on your neck. It's much easier to share with someone else. The height is less critical. So I think I'm going to go that way. And also, this little fella, I can get very, very light options for a tripod that'll carry something that's 25 ounces as opposed to something that's 70 ounces. So yeah, I think part of my cull, I'll get rid of that straight Leica and look for something equal quality that's angled. Checking this out here.